and welcome to the first episode of One Day Later. I figure I'd start reviewing current pay-per-views, but I wanted to keep it separate from my bastard reviews. The name comes from the fact that most of the time I will not be purchasing or watching the pay-per-view live, instead downloading it the next day to see if it's even worth my time. If I deem the show worthy of a purchase, I will let you know at the end. Otherwise, my star rating system is in effect, so on with the show. Let me get this out of the way immediately. TNA has dropped the ball building up to Genesis 2010. They've relied almost solely on the appearance of Hulk Hogan and others to make or break this event. In my eyes, that's poor planning. It wouldn't have been impossible to devote some of the January 4th Impact taping to setting up this pay-per-view while keeping the spotlight on Hogan, and then taping a second Impact on Tuesday to air on the 7th, and then finally having a third Impact on the 14th to finish things up and solidify the card. Instead, they rushed to build the pay-per-view almost exclusively this past Thursday, and the card, at least on paper, suffers needlessly for it. While I'm going into the show with a very low expectation, I'll also retain an open mind to keep things in perspective. They start things off with a good promotional package, mostly hyping up Styles and Angle, but also showing some of the other talent. If I have any criticism, it's that its style and theme felt more like a lead-in to Bound for Glory than Genesis. I still enjoyed it. Hogan and Eric Bischoff open up the night, welcoming the crowd to the show and introducing the four-sided ring. Personally, I don't care how many sides a ring has. What matters is what goes on in the ring. And someone mentioned that the ring seems small, and I gotta agree, it does look smaller than most rings. Hogan came across very standoffish, which the audience didn't appreciate. I'm of two minds about this. Change is inevitable. You gotta roll with it, but you should also be willing to placate your audience sometimes, or risk the loss of that audience. People might figure, well, they're not gonna give us 6 sides, what else won't they give us? And change the channel. So I would have stuck with 6 sides in this instance, but it really doesn't matter to me. He also said they're coming for WWE and mentioned Vince McMahon by name, which to me sounds like he's blowing smoke, hoping for a fire at this point, but we'll see. Our first match of the night sees Amazing Red defend his X Division title against a mystery opponent who turns out to be Brian Kendrick. Brian starts things off with some ground and pound mat wrestling that's generally unusual for him. I like it though, because TNA has enough high flyers. It's smart for Brian to go a different route and show he's not just some one-trick pony. Red goes high risk at one point, doing a diving somersault onto Kendrick outside the ring, and looks like he lands badly on one leg. Is Brooke dating one of them? Because each time they go outside for a spot, it's right where she's at ringside. While I enjoyed the match, it lacks from any build-up or story to speak of, and I don't think the title should have been on the line here. Having someone premiere in an automatic title shot and then lose does very little for their initial impact. I hope this is a start of a good running feud between both men though. I'm giving this a 6 out of 10. After that, Sean Morley takes on Christopher Daniels over a battle of who's balder. This past Thursday, Daniels attacked Morley leading to this match, but instead of getting right to it, they waste a couple of minutes cutting promos against each other. I don't like the way they're trying to make Morley the face and Daniels the heel. I'm just not buying it, and neither was the crowd. Daniels tries his best to draw their ire, but he's the hometown boy, and he's gonna get cheered. TNA should have known better. The match, though, is passable. Daniels gets Morley in a Koji clutch, to which Sean wisely rolls with his shoulder, countering it into a pin and forcing Daniels to break the submission. Honestly, this is a bad feud for Daniels to be in, going from vying for the title last month to losing to the new guy this month. Hopefully it won't last long. Maybe if Daniels was the face, it might have worked better. I'm giving this a 5 out of 10. Up next, ODB defends her newly won knockout title against Tara in a 2 out of 3 falls match. On the January 4th edition of Impact, Tara ended her less than 20-day reign as champion, and if you go back to listen to my thoughts, you'll see why I'm not really into this match. The stipulation felt completely unnecessary, and it proved so when Tara won both of the first 2 falls, gaining her 3rd title win. It begs the question, why even give ODB the title just 13 days ago? This time, TNA had better give Tara a lengthy and healthy title reign. I'm giving this a charitable 5 out of 10. Pope D'Angelo De Niro's promo ability reminds me a little of Dusty Rhodes, if you will, and he's slowly growing on me. After that, the British Invasion of Doug Williams and Brutus Magnus defend their TNA tag team titles against Matt Morgan and Hernandez. I can see why TNA is teaming up Morgan with Hernandez. They don't have anything else for either man individually. The problem is that they don't work well as a team, and I can think of better things both men should be doing than chasing the tag titles. I don't see why TNA can't. Morgan should be vying for the TNA title, and Hernandez should be feuding with someone like Sean Morley. At no point does either man work with the other in this match, and it has no build-up to speak of. It's not all bad, though. You have some of the common elements here, heelish tactics and near falls. At one point, Hernandez has Brutus over his shoulders in a gut wrench, and then falls backwards, sending Brutus face first into the ring. I don't know if there's a name for it, but it looked really well done. The end sees Morgan and Hernandez win the titles, and to me, it's more of a victory out of convenience for both men than it is one born of logic. I'm giving this a 5 out of 10. Then we cut backstage where Bobby Lashley is attacked by Abyss for very little reason, but the real reason is because Bobby has an MMA match in 13 days, which begs the question, why book him in a match to begin with? Afterwards, Hogan calms Abyss down by telling him that his match is still on, but against a mystery opponent. Okay, our second mystery opponent of the night. I chuckled a bit though when Abyss told Hogan that he's crazy enough for both of them. Up next, Desmond Wolfe and D'Angelo De Niro have what TNA touts as a return match, which is a fancy way of saying rematch. Early on, De Niro gets Wolfe between the ropes and looks like he's about to pile drive him, but does some form of mock illegal submission move, I guess. It didn't look too impressive or painful, and it stands out as a rather silly thing to do. De Niro injures his knee shortly after, and Desmond wisely focuses on it to wear down his opponent. From there, Wolfe takes over with multiple submission moves that really excited me. Then De Niro gains a momentary upper hand and does a really nice spike suplex. While things start off slow, the match really gains speed, and by the end I'm on the verge of cheering for the Pope while admiring Desmond. Where I think things could be improved is if this was the rubber match instead of a rematch. As it stands, they're 1-1 even, and having that deciding factor would have made this a little more momentous and raised the score higher. I'm giving this a 7 out of 10. Then there's a promo package about the next match, Beer Money taking on Kevin Nash and Sean Waltman. It was revealed on the previous Impact that Nash, Hall, and Waltman attacked Beer Money, and I assume Rhino and Motor City Machine Guns backstage on the January 4th show, and Robert Roode and James Storm wanted their revenge. Earlier in the night, Nash and Waltman traded places in the match, presumably because Hall wasn't fit enough to wrestle. So why book him in the first place? And if Kevin Nash is under contract already, earlier Bischoff's mentioned in Nash he had nothing to worry about. Why is he even wrestling? He doesn't have anything to prove, while Scott Hall and Sean Waltman do. Shouldn't they be teaming up? It's all just a confusing, ill-thought-out storyline. That being said, this match was surprisingly entertaining. I found myself cheering for Beer Money, and Sean and Kevin did a great job of selling, and the right people went over. My only criticism is when Scott came down and attacked a quote-unquote fan, which I found to be a needless distraction. Otherwise, it's a really impressive match that wasn't too inhibited by the lack of build-up. I'm giving this a 7 out of 10.